I will go ahead and pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551 of the City of Bastrop Ethics Commission will hold a special meeting today, 5 p.m. It is, here we go, 5:03 p.m.
Judge Dugan, could I just ask that y'all speak really loudly because there's no mics up there?
I've never been asked that before. All right, we will speak loudly if everybody can speak up. I will call this meeting of the Ethics Commission to order. First of all, I think I hear that lovely sound of rain. Yes. The chair makes that unsolicited observation. I will go ahead and receive citizen comments. The agenda was posted. And so is there anybody that wants to give comments? We didn't normally have this on our agenda, but we decided that, I guess at the last deal, I requested that we put it on the agenda just in case. It's a public meeting. Does anybody have any citizen comments? Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from July 28th. That have been forwarded around. Anybody have any additions on the commission? Additions, corrections, deletions, anything like that?
Well, I wasn't here, so I'm going to abstain from that discussion.
You may.
I'll move to approve the
All right. Hank will move to approve them. I guess I'll second it since I'm the only other commission member. All in favor? Both of us in favor? All right, they are approved. Do I have the official one? Do I sign this one, or do you? All right, moving on to item number 4, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding my request to address the questions raised by the mayor relating to the previous advisory interpretation of applicability of various provisions of the Ethics Code, including but not limited to section 1.1.031, 1.15.035 concerning a potential conflict of interest in the appointment of a relative of the city official's employer and related issues. Just kind of a recap. It was brought before us about the appointment. First, it was the appointment of the employer, and then the second part, I guess, it was the appointment of the employer's spouse. And discussed it, and I guess any discussion on that from the commission? Looking at that, to me, it is you could have two of the most outstanding citizens in the world, but my personal belief is that if you're appointing the either employer or the employer's spouse, it runs afoul of the intent of 1.1.031, and without question, in my humble opinion, it has the appearance of impropriety. And we've discussed that, and that's, I think, what we voted on last time. Is that correct? Yes,
That's correct. No, we came to agreement with that, and when the ethics board met to draft the ethics policies up, and there were no, obviously, on this stuff, there's no names attached to any of this stuff. There's didn't go by titles, elected official, non-elected officials, any kind of status like that at all. We simply put this out and thought it should be applied straight across the board without any names or anything, titles or anything attached to it at all. So felt really strongly about that.
And
interpretation on this particular matter.
I like your version, it's a lot
Yeah, that is a
bigger
little-
font than mine. I printed off, I think, 3 font. Anyway, that, in addition, not only it has the appearance of impropriety, it's the economic benefit. You shouldn't make any action where it has that improper economic benefit. You want to weigh in, Reverend Hines?
I was not here for the meeting, the last one. I would have to say, going back and looking at the language, I don't think that's what it said, but I agree with you that in terms of, it's a good idea. I mean, it's a good idea to include it in there. I think there was ambiguity in that language that we missed in the original round. I think it seems to be modifying still the city official and talking about his parent.
Right, and I think that's what we.
But
we
I
came
think
to.
in terms of what would be ethical, I think it would be to include the spouse of your employer. I mean, for obvious reasons. I mean,
And perhaps the actual ordinance doesn't, it needs
Clarification.
clarification. But at the same time, I think it is unethical to do it, so.
I think that was our intent and the spirit of the 4 corners of the policy was to that, was to be transparent, keep things like that from happening.
And this, in no way, my belief and comments in no way reflect on this mayor or the employer or the spouse or anything like that. It actually, I mean, just personally, I think there's no question in my mind, it wouldn't be a problem with this particular mayor, this particular employer, or this particular employer's spouse. But what if we're down the road 100 years from now when we're not here and we have a different mayor and a different employer and a different employer's spouse? It's to avoid the appearance of impropriety. And I think if you appointed an employer or the spouse, it has that appearance. So I think we need to recommend cleaning that up.
And you did,
We did.
and you did ask for that,
I thought that's what we did last time.
sir, and that's the next agenda item. If you're still inclined to clean that up, what we've worked on, and you may not have had time to spend with it, and you may want to take this up at a later date, but you asked me to do some clarifying language to possibly recommend to the council, and that would be the 3rd agenda item. Well, it's actually point number 5 on your agenda, which is consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding a recommended amendment to the city ethics ordinance to clarify the commission's position and views for the city council concerning this conflict of interest issue. And so I circulated today, and it should be in your packet. It's a
I have it on the
draft
screen.
ordinance, and what we attempted to do here was just to inject language that would encompass what y'all had discussed at the last meeting. To begin with, for example, in Part A, we included a few more clarifying comments in the definition of economic interest to include things like business advantages, private and personal interests, and also to clarify that a person has an economic interest in a business entity if that person is an employee or a paid contract worker or consultant for the business entity. We saw that what we did to come up with these suggestions was to go back and review some of the ordinances that we looked at as a commission and see what they had done to address these. And this was language that some of them had used.
I had some questions about the
Sure.
proposed amendment. You had added private or personal interests. And what does that mean? I mean, how does that we talk about personal interest elsewhere in the ordinance in 15.203 and defining what a private interest is?
Mhm.
Is that in reference to that?
No, it's part of a definition of what an economic interest is.
Well,
So
I get-
when you talk about an improper economic benefit, and you talk about you should not take an official action that you know is likely to affect an economic interest, what you're saying is you should not take an official or action that you know is likely to affect to someone's advantage, a business advantage, or private or personal interest. In other words, you shouldn't be doing a personal favor for someone, is what is supposed to be. But if the wording's not right, we can work on that. You're not supposed to be
You think it's
doing
too
personal.
broad.
Yeah, I just don't, if I had trouble understanding what it was.
Yeah.
I just found it was confusing because it doesn't, it seems to go away from economic interest. I mean, everything else, I mean, it's just such a broad thing to say a personal interest. What does that mean? So,
Would it be better to say promote a private or personal advantage? Promote a private or personal opportunity? I don't know. Or do you just want to strike those words?
what
I
do you
think
think,
one
Jen?
of the things.
The point is not doing personal favors, so
But it's still personal favors that have an economic value to them.
an economic value or an opportunity for an economic value. The problem is that not everything can be quantified in dollars and cents. Sometimes you give people an advantage that may not have.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying, is does that need to be under economic interest there, or does that, does that come instead under advancement of private interests elsewhere in the
May not use this
ordinance?
food, unfairly private impedient, grants, secure, or free person. That might cover that one too. I mean, it may be
just-
redundant.
Yeah, I think that here, we have to stay with economic, things that have, even if you don't know the exact dollar figure, it's an economic interest. I don't think we can insert in there non-economic interests.
Okay,
And I'm not saying they shouldn't be covered elsewhere. I think they are.
okay.
That's my point.
So let's, with that suggestion, then we'll take private and personal interest out of this insertion.
I would be more comfortable with that.
I like leaving in business advantages.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just
Okay.
a private or personal interest that I don't think is covered under this provision.
I think, what is that constitutional term, void for vagueness?
Void for vagueness.
I think we've done it, yeah.
It is really difficult for anyone to hear you guys at all. So could y'all remember to speak up, please?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Surely. Okay, we'll strike private or personal interest there. And then, I-
Because I think it's covered elsewhere.
Yes,
That's-
yes.
it's Not that it's okay.
203.
Not that it's
Right.
okay,
If
it's covered elsewhere.
It's covered elsewhere.
Got it.
And then I had some questions also on section 15.0359.
Okay. I'm with you.
And it's just clarification
Yes,
in language.
yes, sir.
All right, you've added the language, person within the third degree of consanguinity or second degree, that's fine. But down in A, 1, 2, and 3, what I have added, and tell me if this is what we meant, because it seemed unclear to me.
Right, this has not been changed, so
Yeah, I know,
maybe
but
it
this
needs to
is,
be
that's what I'm saying,
clarified.
while we're
Okay,
amending,
Yeah,
it seems like, do we mean lowercase Roman numeral 1, solicited employment, received and not rejected an offer of employment, or accepted an offer of employment? Is that the meaning of the?
well, let's see, a person or business entity from whom the trust is treasurer has solicited, received, not rejected, I think it would be employment, aren't we talking?
I think that's what 3 implies. I
I do too.
Why don't we just add that?
I mean, I think the or is important. It's, in there. It just wasn't, there wasn't even an or.
That's true.
So I
Or
would
with whom
propose
the
we
city-
clarify it by saying solicited employment, received and not rejected an offer of employment, or accepted an offer of employment, et cetera.
You know, the or makes me wonder though,
We're covering all the possibilities.
whether it's employment or
And/or.
business opportunities. Because it says solicited, or negotiated pertaining to business opportunity.
But that's not in here. I mean, it's not in here
It's
right
not
now.
in this.
Yeah,
We did talk about business opportunities.
Yeah.
that's covered in B.
Yeah.
Okay.
A was,
So we'll
was
strike, we'll
clearly
put a
employment.
period after compensation, strike or.
Oh, I don't, let me think. No, I don't think you need to do that. I think you need an or above,
After
after
After two.
Yeah, I
but
don't think we need
strike
to
the or
strike.
at the bottom
And then
of
add-
3.
No, I wouldn't
Put
strike
it on
it.
all of it,
Or add,
employment.
what if it were to read, lowercase I, solicited an offer of employment,
Okay.
received and not rejected an offer of employment, or accepted an offer of employment, whether, is that what you're suggesting?
I would have said solicited employment, but I don't think it hurts to have,
An offer of
An offer.
employment, received and not rejected an offer of employment, or accepted an offer of employment whether compensated or not, and regardless of the level of compensation.
Yes, ma'am.
And then keep that or,
Mm-hmm.
and go within the city of, okay, got it.
I'm just to
Sure.
clarify what we,
The intent.
and then the problem above in 9, I need to go back to that.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we have a degree of consanguinity or affinity with a business entity?
We don't. I think probably that the
We need
business
to-
entity needs to be either broken out,
Yes, we need to find some other way of saying that. That's just silly.
a person,
I know we say a corporation is a person, but they don't get married.
well, no, but they do get to contribute to campaigns. So let's say a person or a person with,
Put up free speech.
why don't we make a business entity number 10? Can we just drop a business entity to become a,
What if we just flipped a business entity
or a person?
or a person?
Okay,
Sure,
um,
that sounds good.
sure. Or a person,
uh,
including a person within, instead of or a person, let's say including a person within.
a business entity or a person, and then we could say, even if we have to use a parenthesis, or such person, or a person within such persons. We got to do something to
Or
make
a
it clear
person
that
within, or, I would think it would be including,
A person.
or someone related to such person by the third,
Okay.
within the third degree of consanguinity
I
or
can do
second
that.
degree.
Or a person
Related.
related to someone.
Right.
Person related
got it,
to.
within the third degree of consanguinity or second degree of
Right.
affinity. And then we'll just do that as a semicolon. So that one's going to read, number 9, a business entity or a person, open parent, or someone related to the person within the third degree of consanguinity or second degree of affinity, close parent, semicolon, and then we go down to
Right.
from whom. And then it's going to be small I, solicited an offer of employment, received and not rejected an offer of employment, or, and then it goes on from
Right.
there. Okay, got it. Thank you.
I love when the teacher in you comes out.
I do too.
My inner marm.
It's good.
Their school marm.
It's always helpful.
How would the commission like to handle this? Would you like us to make the changes and then send them out to you and then have a meeting where you confirm that the changes were made, reflect what you want,
Or do
just
you want us
forward up the council? I just need to know.
I'm ready to forward it up. Do we need to have another meeting to decide what we already decided?
I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll make the changes and send it out to you. If we've done it wrong, flag us and
And just let
pull
us
it.
know.
And then we could meet if we need
Right.
to.
If we need to.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think we've got it.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you for your input.
So,
What we do need is a motion with the corrections made to this ordinance, the corrections to be made and be forwarded to the council with your recommendation to approve the ordinance.
is there a member that would like to make that motion? Inter school marm. Or inter school tank.
I move that we make the amendment as amended, no, as
As stated.
have we forward it to the city council and recommend their adoption of
Yes.
that amendment?
That's great.
I'll second.
You'll second it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. All right, that's item number 5. Item number 6, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding draft conflict of interest forms for members and appointees of city boards, commissions, and task forces as per our direction to the staff related to preparation of the same. So, Ms. Brown, you forwarded, or we had a few drafts last time, excuse me.
Yes.
I need to go make some copies.
I emailed these. Would you like copies
I
of
can go
them
get back in real
again?
quick.
I don't want copies again, not me.
I have them
personally.
on my screen.
I received them, so I don't need them.
Okay.
All right, discussion.
My inner school marm went crazy.
Oh, well, you know what? We could just have you school marm them back to me.
I think, first of all, I think they're wonderfully brief, and I really appreciate
tried.
that. I think they are. I think,
Yes, ma'am.
what a difference. I mean, to have everyone answer 2 or 3 questions as opposed to, they're very specific, pointed toward the particular involvement, and I think that's really helpful.
Why don't we let her send her comments back to me, and, because her comments are always so helpful. And then I'll
We
circulate
always agree with them, don't we?
another draft out. If I'd known, I would have taken them from you and had them ready for tonight, but I needed input, because this was just a wag at something that might do the job.
Right, and I mean, it's just, they're all very similar changes for each
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
just to make them more readable
good.
and consistent grammatically, and, you know, they were drafts.
So, would you like for me to take those?
Somebody in the
and-
class raising their hand. Yes,
Oh.
ma'am.
I have a quick question. If you don't have enough copies for the audience, could you just go over what the form says or what
All right, how about we
questions?
read an example of, here's an example of one. They're all very similar. Bastrop Art in Public Places. This is a conflict of interest identification form that goes out to people who are serving, just potential conflicts. If they fill this in and have someone they write, it doesn't mean it's a conflict, it means it's a flag to look into it if something comes up. Bastrop Art in Public Places, BAIPP members are tasked with assisting the city in the selection, display, and maintenance of art in public places, including the acquisition of artwork by purchase, loan, and donation of works of art for public display. Art includes all types of art media, including art design, photography, video, etc. Answer the following questions by checking the boxes and providing additional detailed information if needed. And the boxes are yes or no. And here's the first question. I am, or one of my relatives is, an artist who is involved in the production of artwork for sale, exhibition, donation, and/or display, whether public or private. And then it asks who and asks for the relationship. Second question. I have, or one of my relatives has, offered to sell, loan, exhibit, or offered to sell, loaned, exhibited, or displayed artwork made by me/them in the city of Bastrop in a public place, not a private display or sale. And then the third question is, I work for or own, or a relative works for or owns, a company that designs, produces, and/or sells works of art for public display. Who, name of company, position held, how long employed. And then there is an asterisk at the bottom that explains the kind of relatives that tend to be covered by the ethics ordinance. So, and all of them are very much like this. Very specific.
Are there specific forms for every
For each,
board and commission?
each
Each
position
of the
that's
18 boards
um,
and commissions. But
tailored very much to the interest involved.
Julian, when I get the corrected forms, I'll forward them to you.
Cool, thanks.
And I'm happy to read another example just randomly if you like, but they really, I don't think they could be shorter. It's all very
No, I
specific.
think it's a beautiful job of condensing it down to get people to start thinking about, oh, wait a second, I'm trying to, or maybe I shouldn't be promoting my brother's business, fill in the blank for each board, each commission, whatever.
And
Get them to
also
start
for the
thinking about it.
staff liaison to be able to help our volunteers to know, on this particular case, maybe it would be best for you to recuse yourself and then you can step forward on the next one.
Sorry, I have another question. Are these forms going to be filled out by applicants so that the council can see before they are appointed, or is it afterwards?
It's, I think they'll be used for applicants, but that's a,
I think the council can actually initiate this to be relooked at the application form
I thought so.
to draw these issues out.
Right.
We couldn't hear you.
I said that I think the initiation of these revisions came from a direction of some of the council members to this commission to do this.
Which I thought was a great thing, because the whole purpose is transparency and good government. My 2 cents worth. All right, so we will, I guess we will defer
To the marm.
to the marm.
But I would say once Commissioner Hines makes the corrections and forwards them on to Ms. Brown will forward them on to me to be placed on the agenda. So do need a recommendation from you all to recommend these to the council.
All right, how about, I'm certainly comfortable with Reverend Hines looking through those and forwarding them to Ms. Brown and then forwarding them to you. So I'm comfortable making that recommendation motion. And so I will move that we do that. Are you?
Yeah, all the changes were simply grammatical and punctuation, that sort of thing.
Straightforward. So I have no problem with that. You made our recommendation to the council of the ordinance to begin with very grammatically correct. We appreciate that better. Those of us that might be slightly grammatically challenged. So I move.
I second.
All right. Commissioner King.
All those in favor?
Don't make me say that
Oh.
last name. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay. Item number 7, consideration, discussion, possible action regarding future meetings and the work of the Ethics Commission, including input and/or direction of the city staff regarding same. I don't believe we need to set a meeting now. Would it be possible, once again, like we did last time, having what our actions communicated
Surely.
out, just like we did last time?
Sure.
I think there was a request.
Yes, there was.
And so if we can do that same
We will.
deal, I would appreciate that, because that, I think, gets out to people what our actions were.
What I do is I'll send them to all the directors who will then carry it to their boards.
Thank you.
Judge Dugan?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
I ask you a question? When I was at your meeting on July 28th, you guys indicated you were going to have a clarification on a walking quorum of the city council. And I was wondering, that was in my notes from the meeting, you were going to add public comments, send a memo out immediately, discuss the walking quorum of a city council, and the forms. That was going to be on your next agenda. And I was just wondering,
I raised the question, they had been asked to opine on issues regarding a walking quorum, and my memory was that the commission said that's not a commission issue, that's an issue under the open government.
thank you.
And that's enforced by the district attorney.
Okay.
Brian Gertz.
Feel free to call.
Feel free to call him. I'll give you his cell.
They had been asked that question, but
That's right.
it's really not their
I just
time.
had it on my future agenda items. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Any other business for the commission? We will.
Thank you all for your input, very helpful.
Any additional comments you want me to? Oh, any final comments?
I have another question. For the specific hypothetical situation about appointing a spouse of an employer, is there a determination on if that is allowed for specific boards, no boards and commissions? I don't know if that was specifically addressed, but I wanted to clarify that. A council member or the mayor appointing someone.
There's
Does
no,
it matter what
there's
the
no
board is?
exception in the ordinance. I
Okay.
suppose the city council could propose an exception. I don't know.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that it was all.
Yeah.
No, this applies to all the board.
Okay.
The city, the council certainly has the ability, we make recommendations, and they have the ability to amend the ordinance, either based on our recommendations or based on their own. And they always have the ability to do that. So, all right, anything else? Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, my understanding is a walking quorum according to the charter is 4.
It's not for us to.
Not for us to decide,
Well,
I can,
I won't have an ethics complaint against the charter. So you guys can figure it out. But the reality is a quorum is 3, so that's allowed. But yet the charter says 4. So we're allowing 3 people to get together to determine the vote of the council. So I think the charter needs to be reviewed by the ethics commission.
Well, I have a responsibility, I think, and this is the 5th
is
year,
this the 5th year?
to make any recommendations to the council regarding the charter, and there have been a couple that have come up I'll be making at the end of the year.
Is that one of them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, then I withdraw it.
It's, the charter is a document that's enacted by the citizens. And so they vote on that, and that's something that could be amended by the vote of the citizens. The Ethics Commission really doesn't have any.
I know.
Okay.
You know me.
Although we would love more
I meant it, I should have done it the first 2 minutes and I missed it.
And then.
I have an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Any other comment? All right, item number 8. Move to adjourn. Anybody?
I move we adjourn.
All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. I apologize for not talking louder. I don't ever have to say that.
This was somebody says all rise,
All right.
then you can leave.
This is not addressed to the Ethics Committee. This is addressed to Andre and Mike Talbert. If we're going to have a public hearing, the public should be able to hear. I speak loudly. There's no one in this building that can't hear me. Mr. Dugan is saying, and I can't hear a word, not 1 out of 30 words. I have on hearing aids. I don't know why we can't have a microphone. If you all need to be in an informal situation like this, and I never think it's good to have your back to the public. You know, you ought to be up there where we can really hear you and see you. But if you all feel like you need to be in an informal situation, will you please get some microphones in place so that we can hear, you know, and what good has it done me to come if I didn't hear 1 out of 30 words?
And I apologize for that, but there is new equipment on the way that will enhance the video recording of the council meetings, and whether we're sitting back here or sitting up there will enhance the sound, and that should be here within the month.
Within the month. In the meantime, if y'all have any more meetings, can you please go to the front and use your microphones up there, whether it's BEDC, whatever it is. You know, as I said, I'm vitally interested, but I don't know what you've said, so I don't even know what's been decided.
Well, Ms. Peck, I want to apologize. We normally, and this is wonderful to have this much interest, we normally meet in that back little conference room, and so this is the first time we've been out here. And so we've usually met back there, and so I apologize if anybody couldn't hear real well. I want to echo what Mr. Talbot just said. In order for the public to hear better from back at my shop, my understanding is the county judge, the commissioner's court is going to have a new sound system, and the district courtroom is going to have a better sound system so everybody can hear. And so
that would be wonderful. And in addition, they have given little headphones that I put on, and I can hear perfectly. And it's so frustrating when y'all have these meetings here, and I have no headphones that I can put on, and I can't hear.
Well, this is the first time we've been out here, so we're kind of out of our element a little bit. We're used to that room back there, and I think we've had 1 or 2 visitors.
Well, it's not just you. It's anybody who meets here in this situation, whether it's a budget meeting, whatever meeting it is. You know, I'm here, and yet I'm not here.
If and when we meet again, we would, as long as I feel like I'm somewhat trespassing on the mayor and the city council's area up there, but I certainly have no problem meeting up there and using microphones because that's the whole purpose of all of this.
Right,
Is
for it to be
transparency.
transparent,
Yes,
yes. And thank you for trying for a few minutes to talk loud, but if you're not used to a big mouth like I am, then your mouth drops off, your voice drops down. And some of you all did start off fairly loud, but then it didn't take you 2 minutes before you dropped your voice down.
I apologize, Ms. Beck.
Okay, I felt like standing up here and reading everything that you were reading
Sorry, I
so
have
that everybody could hear.
I have another quick question.
We've adjourned.
Oh, we've adjourned, so we can't really.
Can I have an off-the-record question, I guess? My question is, speaking of how there haven't been a lot of members of the public at Ethics Commission meetings, is there a way that we could get, at least the media, get an agenda for Ethics Commission meetings so that we can alert the public? Because I don't think a lot of people come up to
If
City
y'all
Hall.
will add that, whenever we post an agenda in a meeting, send it to whoever wants to be.
Whatever boards, I mean, we have all kinds of boards, so just tell us. And now we do post them on the website,
Yeah, but they're in the,
I understand.
Boarding Commission buried, so.
but. we
Cool,
will
I
certainly-
appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us talk.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to thank Ms. Beck for reminding us that this is a public meeting, not a meeting in public. And I think that's real important that we all are aware of that. Thank you.
And again, I'll take responsibility. I wanted us to meet out here tonight. As I said, we're going to be replacing all the audio and video equipment in here. It's on its way. It just hasn't got here yet. It will enhance not only when the council speaks up there, but when people get up to address the council. The video will actually zoom in on that person speaking, so it's going to be a completely different system. So when we start putting the council meetings and other meetings on the PEG channel, it'll be very clear and very definitive what's being said.
Well, we have a beautiful building, but the acoustics are awful.
Yeah.
They're terrible. I mean,
Well,
I love being in this space, but
it
even
does
with
sound like-
microphones, it bounces around.
This new system sounds like it would make Elvis proud.
That's right. I mean, I don't know what you think.
I'll get this.
All right, we've been adjourned. Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.